It all began on a seemingly ordinary February afternoon. The sun was setting over the Cascade Mountains, casting long shadows across the town. At a local beauty school, students were packing up their supplies, eager to head home after a long day of classes. Among them was a vibrant 17-year-old with dreams as big as the Columbia River that flowed nearby. As the clock struck 3 p.m., security cameras captured her walking to her car, a spring in her step and a smile on her face. She sent a quick text to her boyfriend. "Hey, what's up?" Those 4 simple words would be the last anyone heard from her. Hours ticked by, and worry began to bite at her family's hearts. The girl who never missed curfew was nowhere to be found. Calls went straight to voicemail, texts left unanswered. As night fell, panic set in. Miles away on a remote road, a homeowner made a startling discovery. The abandoned car sat in his driveway, its owner nowhere in sight. Little did he know, this seemingly random event would be the first piece of a puzzle that would take investigators on a twisting, turning journey through the dark underbelly of their peaceful town.
Disappeared in February after leaving beauty school. Her body was later discovered dumped by a river. Chris Wilson was arrested and charged with her murder. Now, 22-year-old Tessa Maria Skyleman was arrested in connection with this case.
Welcome to the case that shook Wenatchee to its core. A tale of innocence lost, justice sought, and the darkness that can lurk behind the most ordinary facades. Buckle up, dear viewers, for this is a story you won't soon forget. Wenatchee, known as the apple capital of the world, is a beautiful city nestled in the heart of Washington state. With the mighty Columbia River winding through its center and the Cascade Mountains standing guard in the distance, it's a place of natural beauty and small-town charm. But on February 9, 2010, this peaceful community was about to be shaken to its core. Our story centers around Mackenzie Nicole Cowell, a vivacious 17-year-old with her whole life ahead of her. Mackenzie called the nearby town of Orondo home, a tiny community just a stone's throw from Wenatchee. Born on April Fool's Day in 1992, Mackenzie Nicole Cowell was anything but a joke to those who knew and loved her. She was the apple of her parents' eyes, Reed and Wendy Cowell. Mackenzie was your typical American teenager, full of life, dreams, and potential. As a senior at Wenatchee High School, she was part of the school's dance team, twirling and leaping her way through performances with grace and enthusiasm. But Mackenzie wasn't just about books and dance moves. This ambitious young woman had also dipped her toes into the world of modeling and was studying cosmetology at the Wenatchee Academy of Hair Design. Imagine a bustling beauty school in downtown Wenatchee, filled with the buzz of hair dryers and the chatter of aspiring stylists. It was here, amidst the scent of shampoo and hairspray, that Mackenzie was last seen on that fateful February afternoon. Orondo, Mackenzie's hometown, is a tiny unincorporated community perched on the eastern bank of the Columbia River. It's the kind of place where everyone knows their neighbors, where life moves at a slower pace, and where the apple orchards stretch as far as the eye can see. But Mackenzie's life wasn't confined to this small town. Every day, she'd make the short drive to Wenatchee for school, in her cosmetology classes. Wenatchee, with its population of around 30,000, must have seemed like a bustling metropolis compared to tiny Orondo. It was just after 3 p.m. when Mackenzie was last seen on the Academy's security cameras. She strolled out of the building, her bag slung over her shoulder, looking like any other student heading home after a long day. She hopped into her car and drove away, telling her classmates she'd be back in a jiffy, just 15 minutes, she said. Around this time, Mackenzie sent a text to her boyfriend. "Hey, what's up?" It read, simple, casual, and tragically, the last words anyone would receive from her. As the afternoon wore on, life continued as normal for everyone else. But for Mackenzie, something had gone terribly wrong. At 5:40 p.m., her father Reed tried to reach her. The call went straight to voicemail, unusual for a teen usually glued to her phone. A niggling worry began to grow. 8 o'clock came and went. Mackenzie's curfew came and went. The worry in the Cowell household turned to full-blown panic. This wasn't like Mackenzie at all. She was responsible, reliable. Something was very, very wrong. As the Cowells were facing their worst fears miles away, a homeowner in a remote part of Chillen County made a strange discovery. There was an abandoned car near his driveway. Little did he know, this seemingly random event would be the first big break in the case. The car turned out to be registered to Reed Cowell, Mackenzie's dad. Inside, investigators found Mackenzie's purse, some clothes, but her debit card and cell phone were nowhere to be seen. Even more puzzling, only one set of footprints led away from the car. The location was perplexing, near Mission Ridge, about 40 miles from Mackenzie's home in Orondo. What was her car doing way out there? And more importantly, where was Mackenzie? The Chillen County Sheriff's Office sprang into action. Helicopters took to the sky, searching the area where the car was found. Search warrants were issued for Mackenzie's phone records and social media activity. The FBI was called in to assist. But despite their best efforts, as night fell on February 9, Mackenzie was still missing. Her family, friends, and the entire community held their breath, hoping against hope for good news. On that chilly afternoon, a grim discovery was made on the banks of the Columbia River near Quincy, Washington. About 20 miles from Wenatchee, in a quiet resort community, what remained of Mackenzie was found. She was fully clothed, her feet touching the water's edge. Nearby, about 50 yards away, stood a vacant house for sale, a silent witness to the tragedy that had unfolded. The news hit the community like a thunderbolt. The vibrant, smiling girl they'd been searching for was gone, taken far too soon. The question on everyone's lips changed from "Where is Mackenzie?" to "Who did this to her?" The autopsy revealed a heartbreaking truth. Mackenzie had been physically harmed in multiple ways. She'd been deprived of air, suffered wounds to her neck, and experienced blunt force to her head. The person responsible had also attempted to separate one of her arms after she had passed. A sharp object was found still embedded in her shoulder, a chilling detail that spoke to the brutality of the act. Interestingly, investigators found no evidence that Mackenzie had been forced into any inappropriate situations. This detail would prove crucial as the investigation unfolded. The community was in shock. On February 25th, nearly 1,800 people gathered at the Town Toyota Center in Wenatchee to remember Mackenzie. It was a testament to how deeply this tragedy had affected the tight-knit community. As the initial shock began to subside, the focus shifted to finding the person responsible. The Mackenzie Cowell Task Force was formed, a multi-agency police group dedicated to solving this case. It included law enforcement from Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, and Chillen and Douglas counties. The FBI and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement also lent their expertise. This wasn't just any investigation. It was the largest multi-agency effort the Wenatchee area had seen since an attempted serial incident back in 1997. Over 800 people were interviewed as the task force left no stone unturned. Initially, the spotlight fell on those closest to Mackenzie. Her boyfriend, Joaquin Villasano, and her mother's partner, Joey Fisher, were both scrutinized. Villasano had some trouble with a truth-telling test when asked about Mackenzie's disappearance. Fisher had allegedly had a disagreement with Mackenzie the day before she vanished. However, both were eventually cleared of any involvement. As leads were followed and discarded, the community held its breath. Who could have done this? And why? The answers, when they finally came, would shock everyone to their core. Enter Liz Reed, a college student with a complicated past. Reed, a former substance distributor turned police informant, came forward with a story that seemed straight out of a crime thriller. According to Reed, two local troublemakers, Sam Cuevas and Emmanuel Serros, were behind Mackenzie's untimely passing. She claimed it was a case of mistaken identity. They thought Mackenzie was an informant. Reed even said she'd seen a video of the incident, quoting Cuevas as saying, "I squeezed that person to make them quiet." Reed's story seemed to hold water at first. She described the harmful object used before that information was made public. She even handed over a ring, claiming it belonged to Mackenzie, and that Serros had sent her to find it at the scene. But as investigators dug deeper, Reed's story began to unravel. None of Mackenzie's family recognized the ring. Reed backtracked on her claim of seeing a video. Cuevas and Ceros, when questioned, produced solid alibis backed by witness statements and phone records. Just when it seemed like the investigation had hit a dead end, several tips led police in an entirely new direction. Their attention turned to an unexpected suspect, Christopher Scott Wilson, a 29-year-old classmate of Mackenzie's at the Academy of Hair Design. In August, police received an anonymous letter claiming Wilson had an obsession with passing lifeless bodies and notorious bad people. One of Wilson's classmates told investigators that Wilson had mentioned working in funeral homes and that he liked to separate people. These disturbing claims led to a breakthrough. On October 6th, Wilson was taken into custody on suspicion of ending Mackenzie's life. The evidence: DNA found on adhesive strips near where Mackenzie was discovered linked Wilson to the scene. But that wasn't all. 3 witnesses reported seeing someone matching Wilson's description near where Mackenzie's car had been abandoned. Most damning of all, a search of Wilson's apartment revealed traces of blood that matched Mackenzie's DNA. The investigation took another twisted turn in December when police made a second arrest. Wilson's friend, Tessa M. Schweilman, was accused of helping Wilson cover up his actions. While she wasn't charged with this, she faced obstruction charges in an unrelated case. Detectives found something chilling on Wilson's computer: numerous photos of Schweilman posing as a non-living person on the exact spot in Wilson's apartment where Mackenzie's blood was found. Schweilman claimed ignorance, saying Wilson had simply told her to pose there. In April 2011, what was initially a second-degree accusation was elevated to a first-degree charge. If found responsible, Wilson was looking at 20 to 26 years behind bars. Before the trial began, Wilson was offered a deal. In exchange for admitting to first-degree unintentional harm, he'd receive about 6.5 years in prison. Wilson turned it down, maintaining his innocence. Enter John Henry Brown, a big-name Seattle lawyer known for representing high-profile clients like Ted Bundy and Colden Harris Moore. Brown had an interesting theory. He believed Mackenzie's blood had been planted in Wilson's apartment. His argument: given how Mackenzie had been harmed, there should have been more blood found at the scene. The judge made some crucial decisions before the trial. The defense would be allowed to present evidence suggesting Cuevas and Ceros were the real culprits. However, the prosecution couldn't bring up Wilson's work history at funeral homes, his tattoo of a fictional character known for his unsavory appetites, or his online activities related to people who had done bad things. Just as jury selection was getting underway, there was a sudden turn of events. Wilson accepted a new deal. He admitted to unintentionally causing serious harm to Mackenzie, taking her phone without permission, and hurting someone else in an unrelated incident. The sentence: 14 years and 3 months behind bars. But the story doesn't end there. Wilson later claimed he was innocent, saying he only took the deal because he didn't think he'd get a fair trial. According to Wilson, about 80% of potential jurors either thought he was guilty or knew about evidence that wasn't supposed to be used in court. Wilson tried to take back his admission of guilt. The Washington Court of Appeals said no. He found himself at Larch Correction Center, with the possibility of early release in 2023. On December 11, 2023, Christopher Scott Wilson walked out of Monroe Correctional Center, free man. He had served his time, but for many in the community, no amount of time could make up for the loss of Mackenzie Cowell. As this chapter of the story comes to a close, we're left with more questions than answers. Was justice truly served? Did the punishment fit the crime? And most importantly, how does a community heal from such a profound loss? Mackenzie Cowell's story is a stark reminder that sometimes the most dangerous people aren't strangers lurking in the shadows, but familiar faces we see every day. It's a tale that shook a small town to its core, forever changing the lives of all involved. As we reflect on this tragic case, let's remember Mackenzie not for how she left this world, but for how she lived in it. As a vibrant, ambitious young woman with her whole life ahead of her, her story serves as a poignant reminder to cherish our loved ones and to always stay vigilant, even in the most unexpected places. In the end, the case of Mackenzie Cowell isn't just about solving a mystery or catching a bad guy. It's about a community coming together in the face of tragedy, about a family's unending quest for justice, and about a young life cut tragically short. It's a story that will continue to resonate, reminding us all of the preciousness of life and the enduring power of memory.